America slaps tariffs. China fires back. Headlines scream, trade war. And most think this economic clash began in the 21st century. But what if I told you the roots of this battle go back nearly 200 years, to when British warships docked at China's shores not for peace, but for profit? In the early 1800s, Britain had a problem. It loved Chinese tea, silk, and porcelain. But China didn't want much in return. The British trade deficit ballooned, so they found a sinister solution: opium. By flooding Chinese markets with the addictive drug, Britain flipped the trade balance and fueled a national crisis. Millions became dependent. The Chinese emperor demanded it stop. Britain responded with cannon fire. The Opium Wars weren't just about drugs. They were about economic dominance, and China lost badly. It was the first major trade defeat for China, and it set off a pattern of foreign powers forcing their way into Chinese markets, a humiliation that would haunt the country for a century. So when you hear about tariffs and tech bans today, just know, for China, this is personal. And it all began here. The Treaty of Nanking, signed in 1842, didn't just end the Opium War. It marked the beginning of what China calls the century of humiliation. Ports were seized. Sovereignty was fractured. Foreign powers carved China like a pie. And that wound never fully healed. For over 100 years, China watched as outsiders dictated its trade, politics, and economy. That memory fuels today's fierce determination to never be economically weak again. Fast forward to the mid-20th century, Mao Zedong rises, declaring the People's Republic of China. The country shuts itself off, aiming for self-reliance. But isolation leads to poverty, not power. It wasn't until the late 1970s under Deng Xiaoping that China flipped the script. His mantra: to get rich is glorious. The Communist Party embraced capitalism, just enough to transform China into a global manufacturing powerhouse. Trade wasn't just commerce anymore. It became a strategy, a weapon, a way to recover from a century of defeat. So while the world saw cheap goods, China saw payback, an economic comeback story in motion. And the West? It didn't see the storm coming. When China joined the World Trade Organization in 2001, the West welcomed it in with open arms. The idea? Trade would liberalize China, economically and politically. Instead, China exploded onto the global market. Its factories ran day and night, flooding the world with cheap electronics, clothes, toys, everything. And as jobs left Western shores, resentment grew. By 2010, China had become the world's second-largest economy. And by 2018, America had had enough. Enter Donald Trump. His administration accused China of cheating, manipulating currency, stealing intellectual property, and strong-arming foreign companies. Tariffs hit hundreds of billions in Chinese goods. China retaliated with its own. Suddenly, the world's two largest economies were in a full-blown trade war. Then came Biden. Many expected a softer touch. Instead, tariffs stayed, export controls tightened, and Biden introduced something new, the CHIPS Act, cutting China off from advanced semiconductors. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about national security, supply chains, global dominance. And while politicians changed, one thing didn't: the US strategy to slow down China's rise. The battleground had shifted from silk and opium to data, chips, and rare earths. And neither side is backing down. The US and China are no longer just trading goods. They're trading blows in a global economic standoff. And the world's watching. Will they decouple for good, or find a new balance in an age of competition? China isn't backing down. It's ramping up domestic production, building its own chip industry, and locking in trade deals across Asia, Africa, and Latin America. It wants to become untouchable, a global force no longer reliant on the West. Meanwhile, the US is reshoring factories, securing critical minerals, and tightening its grip on key technologies. Allies are picking sides. Tensions are rising. But here's the question. Can the world handle two rival trade systems? Two economic superpowers pulling in opposite directions? From British gunboats to American export bans, China's trade battles have never been just about economics. They're about pride, power, payback. So the next time you hear trade war, remember, it's not new. It's just the latest chapter in a conflict that's been brewing for centuries. And if you found this story as wild as we did, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Where do you think this battle is headed?